Welcome to Taking Care of Business on Kern Radio Newstalk 1180 for the best in Saturday talk radio with your host, Clay Kerner, and I'm Marty Pay. Okay, Clay, let's get it over with.
Well, first off, it sounds like your mic's going in and out, so I don't know if that's a problem.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
Well, Erik, I just want to warn you that he may call you by a different name today. He doesn't mean it. We had Ray Stevens on last week, and he called him Ray Charles.
Good one.
Yeah, and you know Ray Charles is not above ground.
Yeah, that's what I'd heard.
And needless to say, Clay and Ray Stevens had a great time at my expense last week.
Yes, I can imagine.
So, also in the last segment last week, we had an interview with an old buddy of mine, Dave Brousseau, and that was he's also a comedian here locally. So we had a pretty good show. But
today we get serious.
Today we get serious. But before we do that, I wanted to thank a friend of mine over at Tehachapi Republican Women Federation for inviting me last Monday. Gave a talk on the Holocaust. It's a tough talk to give, but a very, very necessary one, and in a way, in a lot of ways, it relates to our subject today. But this week, speaking of provocative subjects, we have the man who broke the Reverend Wright story during the last election, the author of a very interesting book entitled Negrophilia, From Slaveholder to Pedestal, Americans' Racial Obsession, Erik Rush. Erik, welcome to Taking Care of Business.
Thank you for having me on. Hi.
Oh, are you there, Erik?
I am here.
Ah, okay. Welcome to Taking Care of Business.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.
One of your claims to fame is breaking that Reverend Wright story. How did that happen?
That actually was kind of a stroke of luck, you might say. There is a Chicago area journalist who, right before Obama was going to announce that he was running, of course, most people suspected he would. They, being from Chicago, were familiar with Trinity United Church of Christ and Reverend Wright and what a radical outfit it was, and they were trying to get some, get that story to get some wheels on it, and nobody would really pay very much attention to it. I'm not, well, partly I imagine because everyone there, loved Obama. And she had the idea, her name is Fran Eaton, she had the idea to send it my way and see if there was anything that I could do with it, being, I don't know if it was because I'm black or because she perceived me as being higher profile or something like that. I did my due diligence and looked at the story and was duly appalled. I wrote a column on that, Abomination, which appeared in the New Media Journal on February 20th, 2007. And on the 28th, I was on Hannity and Combs, because I guess it caught the attention of Sean Hannity, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Mm-hmm. That was an excellent interview, by the way, you did with Hannity the next day.
Thank you.
I guess he had Reverend Wright on the following day.
Yeah, he had Reverend Wright on March 1st, and who came on and basically said I was an idiot, which is par for the course, which didn't bother me. He put up a real screed against me on their website, which stayed up there for many months, and it was kind of to be expected given where they're coming from, but that was pretty much what set whatever press was going to cover that story onto Reverend Wright and what they were all about.
Mm-hmm. In that interview with Hannity, you were talking about the commitment to the black community, the Afrocentric ness of the church.
Yeah. And
you were also talking about if you had taken what they preach, their doctrine, and substituted the word white for black, how would that sound?
Yeah, well, they had this, I guess what they called their 12 principles of black something or other, and they had them on the website, and they, given the race orthodoxy that the left sort of puts out there, it's the sort of thing that would be kind of overlooked by most people, but it talks about the black community and black entrepreneurship and black this and that. And in the column I wrote, well, let's substitute the words white and see what people think. And it really kind of brought to light the idea that there's no such thing as reverse racism. Racism is racism. And then when you get in to hear the kinds of things that Reverend Wright was saying, their soft peddling, that sort of thing, is really kind of, you hear from some of these white supremacists, what's wrong with being proud of our race? Well, that's basically the same kind of thing that Reverend Wright and them are saying. It isn't a healthy respect or pride in their background. It's a xenophobia, basically what they're preaching. That is very true in the Black Liberation Theology churches, of which Trinity United was one. And what Obama sat and listened to for 20 years, and of course denied having heard anything whatsoever, like what was the videotape that later surfaced.
Do you think Obama's a racist? And I know that's a pretty provocative question, but sitting through that kind of teaching for 22 years, how can you not be affected by it?
Well, yeah, I do think that he's a racist in terms of in the terms that I think, in the terms of your good old-fashioned Southern white bigot, that's a little different. The idea that they held of blacks isn't the same idea, I think, that Obama holds of whites, but he definitely does hold racist thoughts. I believe that people of his mindset have a basic distrust of whites just because they're white. Some other organizations, like the Nation of Islam, for example, I think that they believe that whites have an almost genetic predisposition for oppressing non-whites.
Right. Yeah. It's in some ways this is obviously a touchy subject, and I want to get into, what's happened to you as far as your book and everything, because I imagine there's some kind of you've had all kinds of backlash about the book and about what you're trying to say here. But I agree with you, because you're bordering on, if not racism, you're bordering on racism in terms of looking at this subject. I mean, this flies in the face of what Martin Luther King said, which is, he wished for a time when kids could play regardless of their race and ethnicity. I mean, it just, we're actually getting away from that, not getting towards that.
Yeah, and it was very easy for these career black activists to say that they were picking up the mantle of Dr. King, and basically to pervert the heck out of it. It's heaven forbid if you were to go out and say to them what you just said to me. They they would go ballistic. How dare you quote Dr. King? I'm carrying the mantle for Dr. King. You're not even black. Blah, blah, blah,
Right.
It's all based in typical leftist emotionalism. Race baiting. It's all boilerplate at this point. And what the book was really trying to do was to validate the beliefs of people who thought, as I do on this, both black and white, but for a number of different reasons didn't verbalize what they thought or were afraid to. And the backlash, if you will, was really mostly positive, in that the book really did accomplish that to a large degree.
Sure. When we come back from the break, let's talk about the book. Okay, we'll get into that a little bit. We're having a conversation with the other Rush, Erik Rush, author and commentator. We'll be back on Taking Care of Business on Kern Radio Newstalk 1180.